Here's a preview of what you'll hear on this episode of Beyond the Wheel.
I think you could make an argument against that as well, because when we're going to a destination, we stay in a campground. When we're driving between destinations, we'll stop at a Harvest House or like you stop at Flying J's or Cracker Barrels or Cabela's. So I think it's apples and oranges when you talk about that. Like,
Now enjoy the show.
You are listening to Beyond the Wheel, a podcast about the people and ideas that drive the RV community forward.
This episode is brought to you by Battleborn Batteries. Battleborn batteries are the best name in the RV and marine industry. These batteries are designed to replace your existing lead-acid batteries. They come in a variety of dimensions and amp-hour capacities. This ensures there's a Battleborn battery that is right for your needs. These batteries are backed by a 10-year warranty, allowing you to get out there and stay out there. The best solution for your battery anxiety.
whether your adventure is on the road, on the water, or off the grid, Battleborn batteries keep you out there longer.
With the complexity of all the systems in an RV, I always say it's not if something's going to break, but a matter of when is something going to break. That is why I think an extended warranty for RVs is so important. We first interviewed Wholesale Warranties back in 2019 and immediately became impressed with how their policies worked, such as you can take your RV to any licensed repair shop, including mobile repairs. They also have personalized service plans, making sure you are getting the right policy for your needs. And if you think your RV is too old for a policy, you might be surprised to hear that RVs up to 20 years old can still be approved for a policy. That is more age lenient than most RV parks I've stayed at. Go to wholesalewarranties.com/Beyond the Wheel or click the link down below in our show notes to get your free quote today.
Hey everybody, welcome to another driver's edition here on Beyond the Wheel podcast. Sean and I are really excited to be back. We were just saying right before we pushed record that it feels like it's been a while since we've done one of these. If you're unfamiliar with a driver's edition, it's just Sean and I, no guests. We do this every fourth episode and we sit down, we talk about what's going on with the podcast, which we got some big news to announce really soon. And we also talk a little bit about the news in the RV industry going around the world. Sean, do you want to start with the big news first?
Yeah, really big news. We will be attending the 106th FMCA Convention and RV Expo in Perry, Georgia. And what are the dates of that, Kenny? March
15th through March 18th.
Yeah, and we'll be putting on, just like we did at the last Expo, we will be putting on a daily morning show, interviewing some of the vendors that are there. And we'll also have some room for guests to come join us and listen in on the podcast while we're doing it live there in Georgia.
Yeah, so that'll be a big difference. That's really the only difference is that we're going to set up a PA system this time. So we're trying to give you guys enough notice that we are going to be there. If you want to come down to the FMCA show in Perry, Georgia, and sit out in the audience or in the crowd, we're going to have a PA system broadcasting the show so you could hear. That was one of the things that we learned from the last time, is that if you were there live, it was difficult to hear us talking to the guests because we're not sitting there shouting to the to the guest, I guess. So, the best way to listen was actually on the Facebook Live with a set of headphones. But now we'll be actually projecting our voices with a speaker, and we can get a little bit of crowd participation this way. And hopefully, like I said, we're giving you guys enough notice to come and enjoy the event at the FMCA show. You know what's great about this, Sean, what I took away from this is when we received the email from the FMCA, they said that they received really good feedback from us being there last year. Well, it was this year, but last March, that they wanted to invite us back. They got good feedback from audience members, and they got a lot of good feedback from the people that we interviewed. So I thought it was great that they reached out and said, hey, we want you guys to come back and do this morning show. And we're on, like Sean said, we're going to do the same thing that we did last year, as far as we'll be there every morning doing a live morning version of the show with guests, and it should be a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun last time. And like last time, it will be also on Facebook Live for the people that can't attend or maybe are not early risers and want to catch it later in the day if they're actually at the rally. So I had a lot of fun last time. I enjoyed talking with all the people that we talked to. It was good actually being in the environment where the show was going on. It was a highlight last year doing that show.
Yeah, for sure. And like you said, being the environment, they put us near the vendor display area, and that's who we were interviewing is vendors, the products. So we had a great location where we were getting a lot of foot traffic. I think it was great for us to be there at that show. I think we gained a lot of contacts from being at that show, and met a lot of new, I'd say not partners, but we made a lot of friends, I think, at that show with vendors that we probably would have maybe not known about or kind of overlooked. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to this upcoming March to do this show. I hope that you guys can come out and meet us. I should have grabbed one, but we have stickers that we'll be able to hand out with you. We can chat with you guys about RVing or whatever you want to talk about, like after the show is done. Last year, I keep saying last March, our shows were like from 9 to 10:30. I would imagine it's the same amount of time. So yeah, we're hoping that you guys come out, you say hi to us, we can chit chat. We'll do photos if you want to do photos with us. I think we did that last year. I think it's going to be really cool. And to help us get out there, I don't want to forget to mention this, to help us get out there. So I have about, what I say, Sean, 1,800-mile drive to the show.
Yeah, 1,800 to 2,000, somewhere in there.
And you have 7 something at least, right?
Yep.
So that was one of our concerns was, paying for all this travel to get out there. It's a hefty toll in fuel, but we want to give a huge shout out to Echo One Adventures. Echo One Adventures is sponsoring our drives to get out there. So they're making sure that we get to the show, which is super important.
Yeah, and I guess for people that don't know what Echo One Adventures is, it's like a jack of all trades, I think.
Well, he does a lot of power installs. And the cool thing that he does, it's Jordan who owns the company, Echo One Adventures, is that he will come to you to install the power equipment. He's in New Mexico, so he does have a working radius, but you don't have to go to a shop. You can park your RV at a campground, contact him and say, hey, I want some power upgrades done to my RV. The company also has 4 RVs that they rent out that are fully equipped with power upgrades. You can take one of those out to get a feel, almost like a try before you buy. I believe that's Sean's term when we spoke with Jordan and had him on the show. You can kind of try before you buy, see what an upgraded power system can do for your way of traveling, and then help you pick out what you want to put into your coach. Jordan is like super, super busy of late. Every time we talk to him, he's got tons of installs set up. He is an authorized Battleborn battery installer, which is not easy to become. So his work's going to be good. It's going to be top notch. I've actually hired Jordan and his company Echo One Adventures to put a upgraded power installation into my RV. That's going to be happening early next year. I feel like February, I think, is when we have it scheduled. Sabrina and I are going to be at a boondocking camp spot, and Jordan's going to come down with his equipment and his truck and everything and do the install right there at the campground. So I'll be able to tell you guys firsthand how everything went. I can say so far throughout the process, it's been really good. Jordan has been very, what would the word be, Sean? Oh, what's the word I'm thinking of? He's been on top of things. He calls me or emails me to make sure that I'm getting everything that I want in the system. And he'll even, he checked some of these fuses that go into a system are expensive. They're like $10. And he's like, you know what, Kenny, I was on order a second fuse. And before I did though, I wanted to clear it with you. So he's conscious of how much money you're spending on your budget. He wants you to be happy with the price of things, but he also wants you to be happy with the system overall. And he's been very thorough with everything, explaining how everything works, bus bars, mini bus bars, just, every piece, every component that goes into the system. I think he's been so good with us and explaining everything that we need. And he's not pushy at all as far as, he gave me choices. He's like, you can go to the moon with prices. He's like, this is kind of what I recommend. We can go a little above that or a little bit below that as far as parts are concerned and name brands are concerned. So honestly, just really, really easy to work with. He's not trying to upsell. I don't feel as if he's trying to upsell me on anything.
Yeah, and we did do an episode with him, and we'll put a link to it in the show notes so that you can go check out the episode and hear what Jordan has to say about what he does, both on the rental side and on the install side.
Yeah, it's funny too because when we were talking to him, Sean, on that episode. So if you go back and listen to that episode, some things have changed. Minor things have changed. He said that he was happy with just having the 2 rentals, and he didn't foresee himself expanding. Well, he's doubled that, so now he has 4 rentals. Be careful what you say on the podcast.
Yeah. So then, hopefully some of you will be at the FMCA convention and RV Expo, and you'll swing by and say hello to Kenny and I. We spent a lot of time last time, even after our time at recording episodes was done. We spent a lot of time just walking around, checking out the RVs, talking to the vendors, buying stuff from the vendors. So we'll be around, and we hope to meet up with as many people as possible.
Yeah, and there's shows there. I went to a lot of the shows that happened that week. I mean, even if you're not coming out just to see us, they have you entertained. There's food trucks and there's the vendors. It was a really good time. I enjoyed the magician that they had there. I'm into magic. He was a daytime show, but the live music at night was really good as well. And they have a lot of seminars to help you kind of navigate through this RV experience. So definitely a great show, and I'm super excited. We're both super excited to be there. We're really excited that they reached out and asked us to come by again.
And as a segue, speaking of excitement, we just spent a couple weeks at Disney World at Fort Wilderness when was that, Kenny? October, the beginning of November I didn't get there till November 1st, I guess, but you were there a few days before me.
Yeah, I get there, I would say the 26th or 27th. Sabrina and I like to be at Disney World at the campground for Halloween. That's our favorite time to be there. And yeah, you showed up November 1st, so you saw all the decorations too. It's not like they all come down right away. And we're not even talking about decorations at the parks. We're talking about decorations at the campground, from the RVers that just go just completely bonkers, I would say, with how much the people are having. If you ever seen like the commercials or if you've moved a house, these things called pods. These people have these portable trailers dropped off at their site before they get their RV in place sometimes, or they'll rent a second site for it, and all their decorations are in there. People are making like replicas of Jurassic Park and the Haunted Mansion, where they're taking up 2 to 3 sites. They must be spending a fortune, but that's what Sabrina, we ride around our bikes and check out all the Halloween decoration. It's our favorite time to be at that campground is for Halloween.
The weather was not the best this time. We had several days of rain and then a hurricane. So who would have thought a hurricane in the middle of November? But we actually had to, they were very organized, I thought, with how they got everybody out, because it was really late notice that the hurricane was going to come through Disney World. And they gave people the option of either leaving their RV in place and just leaving, or moving their RV to a parking lot, one of the big Disney parking lots. And then they also gave you the option of going into a hotel one of the resort hotels. Julie and I actually have a timeshare there in Orlando that our kids were staying at the time. So we just went and crashed there. But you and Sabrina actually stayed at one of the resort hotels, and it was fairly painless, right? Even with Belle, it was fairly painless.
Yeah, so they knew that we had Bell, and they put us in one of the hotels that are pet friendly. Well, I take that back. They made an exception. This hotel is not pet friendly. We stayed at the All Star Movies, I believe it was, and they paid for it. We didn't have to pay for the hotel room. They put us up there for the night, and they said it was fine that we had Bell. Like you said, it was really painless. It was really an easy transition to go from the campground to the room. They gave us a late checkout the next day. We didn't have to check out till 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon. And the only reason why they did that was they said, in case you need to stay another night, depending on how this storm goes. So they were willing to let us stay in that room as long as we need it. We did move our RV to one of their parking areas. Again, to leave the campground and come back in, we just came back and said, hey, we moved because of the storm. We kept the same site, no change that way. And you know, luckily for us and you guys, we go to Disney World enough times that a little hiccup like that, where you got to maybe dance around a little bit, we don't feel like we miss out on too much. I would imagine though, if you only get a week, it's your first time at Disney, and then a hurricane comes in, and you're probably like, "Come on." But for us, it was like almost like a little adventure.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say is the nice thing about staying there a little bit longer, even though it is expensive, is that things like this don't completely ruin your plans.
Yeah,
I mean, it
yeah,
was just
definitely.
I mean, the worst of it was really overnight, so you didn't really I mean, we were at the park
Yeah,
that day, and we were at the park the day after, I think. So, yeah, it wasn't that big of an inconvenience, but it was an adventure.
yeah, yeah. But you're right. We did. I mean, other than that storm, we did get a lot of rain. I mean, Sabrina bought poncho and wore a poncho. I feel like she wore a poncho a lot of that trip.
Yeah, I think the first week I had a poncho on almost every day.
Yeah, but that's Florida for you too. You just never know. I feel like this time of year we usually luck out with the weather. I think this is the worst weather I've ever had in this time period. Usually the weather is really nice. It's usually a little cool. I like things cooler. It's usually a little cooler, but it's not cold. It's not like well, Sabrina wears a coat, but I wear my t-shirt and shorts the whole time. But yeah, this year the weather did not really cooperate with us too much. I will say though, if you're not a fan of the crowds, that Halloween weekend is packed. The parks are packed, the campground's packed, there's kids everywhere. So keep that in mind. It's really cool to see that campground at that time period, but the actual day before, the day of, and the day after Halloween is really busy. And if you don't want to be there with the crowds like that, just go the week before. Everybody's still set up for Halloween. These people get down there a month before and they stay probably a week after Halloween. So you're good. You got about a 5 week window to go enjoy the decorations and everything that people put out. It's really something to see. That's all I can say. It's just over the top.
Yeah, and then as we were leaving, people were starting to set up for Christmas.
Yep.
So you get to see all those decorations too.
Yeah, transitions right
The
into it.
cool thing also about this time of year is the food and wine festival. Really enjoy that. There's lots and lots of food and beverage options.
Yeah, it's again one of my favorite reasons for being down there is that food and wine festival and the beer. Sean is a beer drinker too. The beer that's at like Belgium, I think it's Delirium Red or it's Red Delirium. It's one of those
Delirium
two.
Red, yeah.
Is it Delirium Red?
Yeah.
Man, that is like my favorite beer. That's got to be in like my top four of beers. It doesn't have a traditional beer taste, but it is super smooth. It's got a good amount of alcohol content to keep you right. It just tastes great. It's just, I only have it there. I don't even know if you can get it anywhere else. I know there are a couple beers that are brewed and made just for Disney. That's not one of them that's made for them, but it is a Belgian beer. And where I live, I don't think I can get that beer. You might be able to, Sean. You live close to DC,
Yeah,
so
maybe in DC I could. Not out where I live for sure.
not where you live, but
Yeah.
you might have an outlet somewhere close-ish. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah,
I'm sure we do. Yeah.
and then the food part of the Food and Wine Festival is really good. I gained the three of you guys seem to have not have gained. Sabrina lost weight. I think you said Julie lost weight. You broke even.
No, I lost weight. I think
You lost
Julie
weight
broke
too.
even. Yeah.
You guys didn't do the Food and Wine Festival right. I got home. I was 7 pounds heavier.
Wow. But we did. You do spend a lot of time walking and being out. Which I think.
True.
Yeah, which I think contributes to the non-weight gain for me at least. What the 18,000 steps a day. Plus,
That's exactly what.
I was sick part of the time too,
Oh yeah.
so that also contributed to it for me.
Yeah, I forgot that you were sick for a little bit. Just the very beginning of it.
Yeah, just the first couple days I had to stay in the RV because I had RSV from my grandson. So, which brings me to another great thing about that campground is there's an urgent care and emergency room that's kind of affiliated with Disney because it's so close. And if you're at the campground and you're sick, they can actually come and they have vans. They can pick you up and drop you off at the urgent care or the emergency room. If you don't have like a tow car or something like that to be able to go, if all you have is the golf cart, they have transportation available to get you to an urgent care, which I thought was pretty cool.
That is cool. And you know what, Sean? Now I've just remembered something that we talked about at one of our other driver's editions about defibrillators. They have them.
Yeah.
Yeah, they have them. And we said, I don't know if we have ever seen them at campgrounds, but they do have them at Fort Wilderness Campground.
Yeah.
I did see a couple of them. I thought that was weird. I was like, Sean and I were just talking about this and that we don't see these at campgrounds. And here they are. And then, if you've never stayed at the campground, it's enormous. It's about 1.5 miles wide. It's about 1.5 miles long. It's almost like a little town. If you're going to go, definitely bring bikes or rent a golf cart. Like it's because you're not driving your car or your vehicle around is discouraged. They don't offer parking everywhere for like regular sized vehicles. You can park your bike almost anywhere. You can park a golf cart almost anywhere, but not regular vehicles. So you're either heel toeing it, you're going to ride your bike around, or you're going to rent a golf cart or bring a golf cart if you own one. You can do that too, because there's stables on the property to go check out. They have a ton of biking trails that you can just use for exercising or running. They also have food trucks that are set up in the back of the campground. So if you want to go and get food, you're going to want a bike or you're going to want a golf cart, because even for the restaurant that's in the back doesn't have parking for vehicles.
Or if you want to take a boat to
or if you want to take a boat again. Yep. I feel like a bike is a must. The golf cart is more like a luxury thing, but the bike is, I think, a necessity, where the golf cart is just, something that you do for the fun of it. And we rented, my parents came down, we rented a golf cart for the 2 days that they were there so that we could, drive them around and show them the campground. I think you rented a golf cart when your parents came, right?
Yep. We had a golf cart for the day that they came to the campground.
Yeah, and even that in itself is kind of fun. When you don't own one and you just rent one for a couple days, it is kind of cool to have it, check out the campground, all, and the decorations and stuff like that. But for the most part, we were using our bikes for that. Yeah, it's just a really nice location. You get a lot of privacy between your sites. Everybody's I would say almost everybody's in a good mood. Depends on if you're catching somebody on their way to the park or on their way home from the park.
And then Kenny, you had something on here about Lightning Lane.
Yeah, I just wanted to talk a little bit about that Lightning Lane. That I'm not I'm a big Disney fan, but I'm not a fan of that Lightning Lane. Mm-hmm. And Sabrina was not a fan of the app itself. She thought the app was kind of clunky. I did okay with the app. I didn't really have issues with the app, but she didn't like the app that you used for the Lightning Lane. I didn't like the fact that we're paying so much for the lightning lane. You're paying a lot to get into the parks as is, and then to charge on top of that to go through the line faster, which I guess, I mean, it makes sense that maybe they would charge you for, but it used to be free. It used to be called Fast Pass. They took away Fast Pass, presented this new lightning lane, and now you charge for it. So then they all they did though was change the name of it. It gives you extra things that you got to try to figure out. And if you're there for the first time and you don't want to miss anything, you almost feel pressure to do the lightning lane. Otherwise, you're going to stand in a long time for your lines and maybe feel like you're going to miss out on stuff. I would always. So my big advice is, one, don't feel pressured to get the lightning lane. You don't absolutely need it. And two, just keep in mind you can always return. Hopefully, you can always go back for a second trip. Disney World is like a huge event or a huge adventure, and there is a lot to take in. And I think everybody needs at least a second trip to it to really get comfortable.
Yeah, I did not. Julie did, but I did not go to any of the lightning lane stuff because I'm such a cheapskate. I just couldn't find it in my heart to pay more than I was already paying for the ticket. So
Yeah, yeah. Well, we did. We paid for the lightning lane when we had our niece down there because she was on a limited amount of time. And I say don't feel pressured to do it, but I would say that we got pressure from our niece to do it because there were rides that she definitely wanted to get on. But yeah, once she left, I mean, that was the last time that we didn't use it after that. And you know what? There's been, I'm sure if anybody knows anything about Disney, there's been a lot of changes lately in chain of command there. Bob Iger is back. I don't know if anything will really change right away with him being back, or you just never know. But it's possible maybe that lightning lane will change its structure a little bit. Maybe the reservation system will change its structure a little bit too.
yeah. Yeah, I hope so because I will not pay extra. I'll wait in the line for 2 or 3 hours if that's what it takes over paying the extra money.
Yeah. Again, they charge a lot to get in that park as it is. I don't even know what it is anymore when you pay for just a single day because we do multi passes, but I want to say it's like $150. It's not cheap.
At least, yeah.
Yeah, it's not cheap. And then the food is really good, but the food adds up too. So definitely, if you're listening to this and it sounds like we're being negative about Disney, we're really not. Just plan. Just plan ahead. Give yourself plenty of time to save up money. Sean and I are big believers in using no credit or as little credit as possible. So just plan ahead, save your money, make sure that you have a list of everything that you want to see, what it's going to cost you up front, and know what you're getting into.
Yeah.
And then just have a great time.
Yeah, I had a great time. I had a great time there. But yeah, we planned it out and we knew that we had enough to cover everything that we wanted to do.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a really big event. It's like a vacation and a half.
So let's get into some news, Kenny.
Yeah, I think we got some really good news. Well, I don't know which way you want to look at it. Interesting news. I think we have some really interesting news. We're going to start off with one about Harvest Host. Sean and I are big fans of Harvest Host. Sean uses Harvest Host. I do not. I see the value in it, and I can appreciate the system and stuff like that. I just never, not for any particular reason, I just never used it. But we've had Joel Holland on the show 2 times before, and he is like really for RVing. He's very pro RVing. He RVs himself, and he wants to elevate the RV experience. And I've heard we saw this news article that in California, San Luis, how do you say it, Sean?
San Luis Obispo.
San Luis Obispo County in California is like giving Harvest Host a hard time for really what we believe to be very frivolous reasons. I'll let Sean go into some of the details because he was really passionate about it earlier when I was talking to him.
Yeah. So the article, it was a local news article from their local paper, and it talked about a lady who owns a winery, and she was a host for Harvest Hosts. And so the beauty about Harvest Hosts is you can go stay at wineries, breweries, different places like that. You stay there for free, but the agreement is that you purchase something from whatever type of business it is. And typically it's no hookups. You're kind of just either in their parking lot or in a field beside their business, on their property. But there's usually no hookups. I think at one that I got, I was able to get some fresh water from them for my RV because I was out. But other than that, no hookups ever. So the county code enforcement officer fined this winery for running a commercial RV park without proper permits on her property. And I guess it's not only a problem with the Harvest Host sites there, but also, and I'm not familiar with Hip Camp, but also with Hip Camp hosts as well. So basically what their argument is, the owner of the winery, is that it's bringing money into the county. I guess people don't like RVs in their community very much. And there's all these laws that it has to be like 1,000 feet from the property line, things like that. And maybe not everybody can meet that. So they're going to look at their camping laws and see, review how all this comes together. But what they really want, I think, is more tax money from these Harvest Host people coming in and staying overnight. And I was telling Kenny earlier that I think this is kind of like the government trying to be like the mafia and making these people pay to come into their area. And I don't think it's necessarily fair because, first of all, when they're camped, you're typically not using any resources. Like I said, there's no hookups. You're basically just parking in a field or in a parking lot of a private business. You're not at like a public park or anything like that. You're at a private business, you're parked there, and you're spending money in the community. So why add I'm going to say a parking tax, but they call it like a tourist convenience fee or something like that. I just think they're trying to gouge the people for money, and I think it will discourage people from going there if they have to pay a fee on top of their Harvest Host membership to go there. And then I also had a thought, like, what about truck drivers that are parking in the rest areas? Why don't they have to pay a tourism fee to park overnight there? They're staying in a public rest area. Why doesn't the county code enforcement officer come around and collect tax money from them? I just think it's a shady thing for the county to do, and it really just shows kind of like their greed, if I understand the article correctly. I think it's really a bad idea to try and get more money out of the RVers that are just coming in for one night. I mean, when we stay at a Harvest Host, it's way more than the cost of a campground night because like we'll stay at a brewery or a distillery or a winery, and you end up spending way more than you should because you don't have to worry about driving. So you can really enjoy the stuff. So I think San Luis Obispo is making a huge mistake in fining this person. She's obviously not running a commercial RV park. Absolutely no hookups. The other thing another person said was, our county is so dry, we have so much danger from fire, it wouldn't be safe. Well, then you don't not have people stay there to take money away from the citizens. You just say no fires. I mean, that people do that all over anyway. So this is a really crappy thing to do, I think.
Yeah, it's easy to just do a fire ban and say no fires, which I would imagine that's probably the norm anyway, because you're on somebody's private property. I would doubt that people want you to start a fire on their farm type of thing. So I bet you that's normal practice anyway. I don't know for sure, but also yeah, I think not only are they trying to hurt them with fines and stuff like that, the county even recognizes that it brings extra money to the community and these small businesses. Yeah, so they recognize that it brings more money in, yet they want to fine them to get even, like you're saying, more money. But then there was something too where they said, well, there needs to be like a designated spot on your property for the RVs. It's got to be labeled out with how many spaces per acreage that you're of land that you have. Like they want to take something that's really a great asset for RVers
And for
and
the community,
for the community. Yeah,
the
yeah.
businesses anyway.
It's probably better for the community than it is for the RVers at in some locations, and really just kind of like, yeah, really be sticklers about it. I don't understand. You're like Sean said, you're obviously not running a campground when there's no hookups whatsoever. You're just parking for one night on
And
somebody's property.
you're not charging people to stay there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. You don't. Yeah, there's no fee. I can't remember 100%. I know we talked to Joel Holland before about the platform. I don't think the properties get paid to offer their land. I think it's just the benefit of that they'll get somebody on their property to spend money. I think the perk that they will get is that they in return get a free membership to Harvest Host.
Yeah, and the people, I mean, if they think it's taking away from campgrounds, I think you could make an argument against that as well, because when we're going to a destination, we stay in a campground. When
Hmm.
we're driving between destinations, we'll stop at a Harvest House or like you stop at Flying J's or Cracker Barrels or Cabela's. So I think it's apples and oranges when you talk about that. Like, and I think the people that you force to stay in a campground when they're just, going to be there overnight, they're going to avoid that route and stay somewhere else.
Just stay somewhere else. Yeah, yeah. In the long run, they're going to hurt themselves,
Yeah.
which I don't know why they can't see that. I mean, it seems pretty clear to us. I don't know what their angle is. Like you said, Sean, it seems like they're kind of like the mob.
Yeah.
Yeah, like pay us for protection.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Or
I don't
pay
know what
us. I was just listening to a thing on NPR where in New York City and Manhattan, this guy had a Christmas tree stand every year, and he would have to pay the mob a portion of the profits to be able to sell there. And
yeah.
so
Well,
that's what made me think of it when I was thinking of this. Like, oh, you want people to stay on your land? Pay up.
but at least they were making profits. I mean, this
Yeah.
person with Harvest Host, the host just has to hope that you're going to buy. There is no guarantee. You don't have to buy anything. There's just a hope that they will buy something before they leave.
Yeah.
There's no requirement to purchase from the host. So hopefully that gets settled pretty quickly. And
Yeah, I think they said they were going to do a study and it would be later in the year, I think. So,
yeah,
hey, taxpayers, pay several $100,000 for us to do a study on something that
mhm,
seems pretty obvious.
yeah. Our next bit of news is that there is a new RV manufacturer hitting the industry. It's called Brinkley RV. They are going to be a high end or luxury fifth wheel company. They're going to be building in Indiana. The way that they are hitting the market, I thought was pretty clever, I guess I would say. General RV Center, which is a really large outlet for RV sales. It's a dealership, and there's several locations. They are teaming up with Brinkley RV, or RV, Brinkley RV is teaming up with them rather, and they are going to debut their fifth wheels at the Tampa show. They're kind of using the dealership connection to get onto the show, into the show, and kind of get highlighted. I thought that was a really smart idea, is to kind of use the dealers for your advertising and your marketing, especially when you're a young new company, to be able to get your name put out there. And the Tampa Super Show is like it goes back and forth. Hershey show sometimes says they're the number one show, and Tampa says they're the number one show. They must be counting in different ways. I don't know. It's almost like the cell phone services where they all say that they have the best coverage, and then there's small print and color codes and everything else. But it's a huge show. So for them to be able to debut there, I think it's a pretty big deal for them. The company is again Brinkley RV, and it's RVs made by RVers, or RV campers for RV campers, designed by RV campers for RV campers. It's mid-sized luxury fifth wheels. I think Sean was looking up some of them, and they were like 35-foot fifth wheels.
Yeah, they only have one right now. It's a 35-foot fifth wheel.
And that's the Model Z.
Yeah, GVWR of 14,500 pounds. So a mid-size fifth wheel, I guess.
And they did take it out on a trip. They took it on a 30-day road trip, and they took it to campgrounds. I think they took it on about a 6,200-mile journey, trying to get feedback on how to improve it. Which I think that's I think that's a good sign that they test this before it actually went into the market. I don't know if that's always the case with some of these RVs. So I think the fact that it went out testing it, went on a real road trip, tested stuff out to get some ideas. They said from the road trip they made 250 refinements to its design. I would imagine that they got a lot of value out of that trip, taking it out there, seeing what it all does. I think it's great that they did it that way. Now this is not, it's luxury, so this is not a cheap RV. We were seeing that the price of a fifth wheel for $100,000, you got to be really all in. I think I would say that's an all in move. Like you're really wanting to do the RV type of travel, because that's not including your truck.
Yeah.
so once you get into it, you're really you're into it.
Yeah, and that's MSRP. So I guess you could probably, depending on the market, you may be able to get a better deal.
Should do
but
better.
It does have some really good. It has some great features, Kenny. First, the insulation is some of the best I've seen. It has R40 in the floors and ceilings, and R11 in the walls. And then the holding tanks for that size fifth wheel, I think, is pretty decent. It's got a 75-gallon freshwater, 90-gallon gray, and 45-gallon black. And it's got brass plumbing fixtures, which I think is pretty cool. Lots of just little things that if it all holds together, it's going to be a pretty sweet fifth wheel. A bit out of my price range, but really nice fifth wheel, I think. And it also comes with a 370-watt solar panel and 50-amp MPPT solar charge controller, which that's pretty good for coming out of a factory, I think.
That is really good. I'm not familiar with this. Maybe you are, Sean. What is an electric dump valve?
Oh, yeah. I was thinking about this, and I actually highlighted it. I don't see the value in an electric dump valve.
Is it that you push a button and it dumps instead of pulling a handle?
Yeah, I think that's what it is. But you have to get under there to hook up your hose anyway.
Maybe though, for a 1 week stay, 2 week stay, something like that, where you just hook up your hose once in the beginning of the trip, and now you're just pushing a button to empty your tanks throughout your stay. Maybe that's where the value is, not for like maybe an overnight stay type of thing.
Maybe, really, but the gross part about dumping the tanks is hooking up the hose.
Yeah, once that's done, that's it.
Yeah. Pulling the handles is no big deal unless you have some sort of mobility issues. But then even then you have to get somebody to hook up the hose. The other cool thing, the flush slides. So when they come really out, nice. They're flush with the floor. That's huge. Yeah, that's a nice feature.
Yeah, frameless windows. I mean, they are putting in some really nice touches in this RV. Hopefully, we get to see one in person. I would really like to. I would definitely like to check it out. I don't know what this. So I'm not a trailer guy or a towable guy. 7K HD axles, Sean. Is that each axle is rated for 7,000 pounds? What does that mean exactly?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, so like the ones on our Arctic Fox, I think are 5K.
Okay.
So beefier axles on there, which again is cool. Yeah. I just have to mention, and the bedroom TV is mandatory. It's not an option. I noticed that on their spec sheet. It has 32-inch bedroom under factory option, 32-inch bedroom TV, and then parentheses it says mandatory.
Okay.
So I guess you have to take it out yourself if you don't want it, or maybe it's built in. I don't know, but that's weird that it's mandatory. And it has 2 ACs, which is nice too. So
That's nice. Yeah.
but I do have a problem with the RV industry in general with their marketing that I've been seeing lately. And I'm not picking on these guys because I've seen it on many different manufacturers' websites, is the term residential with things. And like this has residential frameless windows, residential end tables. I don't want residential. I want something that's going to last going down the road. I think residential is not a good term to use. I think they mean something that they're not really saying, because I think of residential as like not as rugged as it needs to be for RV travel.
Yeah, it should be RV rated would be a
Yeah.
better, that it's made, like you said, made to travel, made to be shooken down the road. I think that term got popular with like the residential refrigerators. People were really excited about residential refrigerators, and now maybe they're just using that term. They're like, oh, that went well. Let's call everything residential. And I agree with you. Yeah, I'd rather it be RV RV rated to take the shakes and bumps down the road. And I agree. I don't think that because they're calling it residential wouldn't have held up. I just think I agree with you. I think there's a better term that they can be using than residential.
Yeah, I know what they're saying. That it's more like a home like feeling. It doesn't look like cheap.
Yes.
But
Yes.
I don't think residential is the right word, because residential does not mean it's going to make it. It seems to me like it has more of a chance of not making it down the road for very long. So, but that's not just Brinkley. That's everywhere's using that term now, and it's I think they mean well by it, but the impression it gives, at least to me, is that it's not going to last.
And we're not trying to be negative about them, because I do appreciate that they went on this trip. They did those refinements. They're learning from it. Putting the 7K HD axles in there, they are concerned with longevity of the vehicle and making it not just comfortable, but also safe. And they're putting the money in the right places. Again, like Sean said, we're not trying to pick on them for using that term, but we do wish that them and other manufacturers would pick a better term to represent the RV industry and the standards that are involved in these vehicles. Like there's these companies usually have to jump through a lot of hoops. You got to be fire rated. You got there's a lot that goes into the behind the scenes of when you manufacture an RV, that it's got to be safe for the road, safe for the occupants. I agree. I just think there's a better term that they can be using. I think RVs are built better than most houses these days.
The other cool thing that I've never seen in any RV before, that I think is really handy for DIYers, and if you're going to do any upgrades to your RV, is there's a built-in wire chase from the roof all the way down to the pass-through storage area.
Oh, yeah.
So then you don't have to worry about fishing wires. They already built that path in there. I think that's probably one of the best things about this RV, from a DIYer's perspective. That makes things so much easier.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. Like when we're reading about their RV, it's got a lot of nice features. I think they really put a lot of thought and innovation into it. I mean, obviously, we wish them the best, because we need more RVs being built, because our next article is that the RV industry just saw its best, one of the best out of 5 years of financial history. People are still buying RVs, even though things are slowing down. They're not going back to, we'll say, pre-pandemic times, sales. The RV industry has seen an influx of all new buyers, and it has really grown, and it's going to continue to grow. Chairman of Ericsel was quoted as saying, everybody's been expecting this downturn, after talking with manufacturers, suppliers, and dealers, they are not ready to panic yet. Instead, there's expectation that once they weather the next few months, we're going to see another upturn for the industry. I agree. I think that this is our new baseline for the RV industry. I think we've settled down to just a higher level than what it was a couple years ago. I think people got introduced to RVing because of COVID. I think they realized what we all already knew, that it's a lot of fun. It's a great way to travel and see the country instead of just flying over it. I think those people will tell their friends how great. I don't think the RV industry is going to really have much of a drop off.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's here to stay. I do think it will drop off a little bit, but like they said, a drop off a little bit from the COVID highs is still better than almost all the years previous.
Yeah, they're seeing younger people in RVs that normally it used to be, oh, when I retire, I'll get an RV, but that's changing. So younger people are getting into RVing, which will continue to grow the industry as well. I think the industry and you and I, Sean, will be just fine with having all these extra people to interview and have on the
Yeah.
show as they continue to as the growth continues to go and new products and everything coming out.
I mean, even here, driving down the road today, we were going to our son's house, and it's cold here. I mean, it's in the 30s, and I probably saw 3 RVs driving down the road on my way there.
In
So
just an
people,
hour.
yeah, people are still getting out, even though it's cold. You just see more RVs out on the road, and all throughout the year.
Yep. I'm on a lot of Facebook groups, and people, like you said, Sean, there are still a lot of people out there traveling in the winter. Some people I've never done this, but or maybe you have. This sounds vaguely familiar now. I'm saying some people will winterize their RV and travel in it even as it's winterized instead of, and then still continue to use it. They just don't use all the functions of it. I was like, that's interesting. I don't,
Mm.
have you done that?
I've never done that. No.
Okay, for some reason I thought maybe you and Julie had done that on a trip before. But yeah, I was like, that's interesting. So they're taking it to like really extreme temperatures where they're not comfortable de-winterizing it, but they still want the shell of the RV. So yeah, I think that is probably a younger generation move right there, Sean.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm too old for that for sure.
That would be my guess. These are probably people that just came out of tents and got like a travel trailer or something like that, and it's like, this is nothing compared to what we used to camp in. Maybe something like that.
So leading into that, Kenny, they say for 2023, small travel trailers will be the thing.
Yep, and it makes sense. I know Winnebago is working on smaller travel trailers. That Hike 100 is smaller and lighter. I think it's the lightest travel trailer. I don't want to don't quote me on that, but I think it's the lightest travel trailer they've made. Forest River has its R-Pod series that came out in 2008 that does really well. Again, it's a small, light trailer. The popularity with that, and it makes total sense, is that you can tow it with a smaller, lighter vehicle. You can tow it with a big SUV. You don't need, Sean, what do you have?
I have a 3500 Chevy.
Dually, diesel.
Yeah, dually.
Yeah. So that is a very particular vehicle that's almost like a tool for your trailer or your towable. Whereas by making some of these trailers smaller, lighter, you can kind of use it like a daily driver and tow your RV at the same time.
Yeah, and the other thing is smaller doesn't mean less comfortable necessarily. I mean,
No.
in that Hike 100, it's pretty sweet. I mean, there's some really nice features in there. Same with the R-Pods, really nice features, just more compact. So, yeah, I don't think you sacrifice much, maybe a dry bath, but you're not sacrificing a lot of the comforts. You're just compacting them into a smaller shell.
Yeah, it's more like that of a tiny home mentality. I mean, Airstream's always been known to be very lightweight, and I don't think anybody says that they are sacrificing anything in an Airstream.
No, for sure.
even the smaller ones, like, yes, you're sacrificing maybe a little bit of space, but you still have all the necessities that you need as far as being able to cook a meal, sit and relax in a chair, get out of the weather. So
Sleep.
yeah, I sleep. Yeah, sleep. Exactly. Yeah, I think it just opens that market a little bit wider to the audience of who could purchase something like this, because now they don't have to say, well, if I'm going to buy this, then we're going to need to upgrade our daily driver, or get a truck made just to tow. They'll be like, oh, I can tow this with my Gladiator. I can tow this with my Ford Ranger, small little pickup truck. Or I can tow this with an Explorer, or anything like that. I think they're definitely onto something when the RVIA says 2023 is going to be the year of small travel trailers. And since I've been going to these overland shows, I'm looking forward to seeing what they come out with for these small travel trailers, because that is a perfect example of people coming up with ideas to make everybody comfortable, functional, lightweight. So
Taxa. I mean, we interviewed
Taxa,
Taxa. That's
perfect
a
example.
unique, small. They have some compact trailers that have some unique designs to make it even more comfortable.
Yeah, lightweight. They're using materials that the way it's shaped for structure to make it stronger but yet lighter. Yeah, Tax is a perfect example of that, and they're huge in the overland.
Yeah.
We're not overlanders, and when we had Tax on, we had them on at a bad time, Sean. Weren't even aware of the overland industry. We didn't realize just how big of a name Taxa was, I think, when we had them on. But you go to the show and they're like superstars.
Yeah.
You go to overland.
Yeah, you see those taxa crickets. I saw a lot of those when I was there.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Really creative. Yeah. So I think it's going to be a lot of fun to see what comes out next, for sure.
Yeah.
A little service announcement. If you're planning, since we're talking about the industry growing and more people, if you're planning to travel to any of the national parks in 2023, we are going to share some dates that will be free for you to go to the national parks. If you haven't been to a national park, highly, highly encourage you to go to a national park. I've never been to a national park that I did not like. I have favorites, but I've never been to one that I didn't like.
Yeah, that's true.
So January 16th, Martin Luther King Day, is going to be a free National Park Day. April 22nd is the first day of National Park Week, and that will be a free day. August 4th is the Great American Outdoors Day, and that will be a free day. September 23rd, National Public Land Day, free day. November 11th, Veterans Day, will be a free day to go into the national parks. So if you don't have a national park pass and you want to check out one, maybe there's one near you, pick one of those days. I'll have them in the show notes, and go check out that national park day on that day. I will say it will probably be very crowded on that day,
Yeah.
but you'll at least get an idea of what the national parks offer.
And I do have to give a shout out to the National Park Service app. I have that on my phone. I don't know if you have the National Park Service
No, I
app,
don't.
Kenny. And it's really good. Like, you can track, I like to use it to track all of the national park places I've been. You can add it as you've been there, and you can look at parks you've visited. You can take notes on there, I think. Also, all the national parks are on there, and it links you to like all the information about the park. So
I
it's
like
really
that too.
good. Like, is it pet friendly? All that stuff you can get from the app. The operating hours, if there's seasons, all that stuff is right in their app. Is really good. I've been using
Okay.
it for at least 3 years now.
Oh, it's not something new then.
No, it's not new. It's been out for a few years. Yeah, and I really like that app. It's when we're traveling, I always pull it up and you can see what national parks are near you. So it's a really good app. So if you go to one of these free days and really like the park and want to get a national park pass and explore National Park Service locations, I highly suggest the app. And I highly suggest purchasing a national park pass if you want to spend any amount of time in a park, particularly like the park we're at. We're by Shenandoah National Park. It has a pretty high entrance fee. So if you go there a couple times, you've paid for your park pass.
Yeah, same with us. We're near the Saguaro National Park, and just to drive through they got a pretty decent entrance fee, so it's well worth the annual pass. I The last time I checked, is it $80 for the year?
I think it's 85.
85, and that's if you have no discounts. There are discounts that they do offer, military and senior. So if you can get one of the discounts, it's well worth it. It's so worth it.
Yeah, I think I've had a national park pass since 2010, 2011.
I've had a national park pass not as long, Sean. Let's see, 2018.
I feel like I get my money's worth out of it every year. So,
Oh yeah, definitely.
yeah.
Yeah, for hiking, and it's more than just outdoor stuff. Like the Saguaro National Park has like a driving tour. It's like a 4 or 5 mile loop, and you just drive from like sightseeing spot to sightseeing spot, and then you get out. You can walk around a little bit, get back in your car and drive. It's not even something that you have to use like a national park. You don't have to stay overnight to enjoy a national park. You can go for a day and enjoy the national park.
Yeah. Yeah. And not everything's just like you said. Around here, there's a lot of Civil War stuff that's part of the National Park Service that
Yeah.
you can go visit as well. So it's not just trees and streams, there's other things as well.
Yeah, that's a good point too. And now we're getting close to the end of the show, but before we go, we want to let you guys know of a couple guests that we're going to have to kind of kick us off for 2023. This is our last episode for this year for 2022. So we want to thank everybody for joining us again for another great year. I think pat ourselves on the back. I think Sean and I did a great job this year of bringing new guests, having a couple returning guests, some fan favorites. I think next year we are even going to outdo ourselves again because we're starting the first 3 episodes of the new year are all new guests. We have a company called Luno coming on the show.
Which is a fantastic episode. Penny hasn't heard it edited yet, but I did the editing for it and it's one of my favorites.
I'm looking forward to it. I'm going to listen to it this week. Sean does all the editing. In case if you did not know that, Sean does all the editing, and then he'll send me the episode, and I'll kind of proof listen to it. If I find anything, it's very rare, but if I find anything that maybe I didn't like in the episode, he'll remove it for me. And I do remember really enjoying the conversation with Pete. Pete's the owner of Luno. And we even said to him, he's like, we got to get you back. Like after we were done recording, I think we said, we got to get you back on the show and talk some more. He had such insight in the outdoor industry. He owns a company that makes mattresses. He's very popular in overlanding, but they make inflatable mattresses for pickup trucks. I think mainly like Tacomas, and he also does it for the van lifers and stuff like that. Really nice guy, really good company. We had a chance to check out some of his products at the Overland show. Real high quality, very nice stuff. The episode that I'm really looking forward to sharing with you guys, because we just recorded it not too long ago, and I really had a good time talking with Seth from Mind Over Land. It is a nonprofit foundation. I actually just bought a couple of their shirts and a hat to contribute to the foundation. Plus, I get a shirt and hat out of it. And I just got an email yesterday saying that my shirt and hat are on the way. But Mind Over Land is a foundation that is taking veterans outdoors. And what I mean by that is they are doing like scheduled trips where they do a group, I guess, overlanding trip. They're in vehicles. The veteran doesn't even need to necessarily own a vehicle. If they don't have a vehicle, they will pair them up with somebody with a vehicle. They take them out for a 3 to 4 day trip, and it's very structured. It is just something to get them outside, get them into the community, get them talking to one another and having a good time at the same time, and learning about overlanding. Sean said like Luno is his favorite. I'm really looking forward to listening to Mind Over Land because I had so much fun talking to Seth, and I really like their business model and what they're doing. I think that's going to be my favorite.
I think we get into it a lot during the episode, but when you're in the military, and particularly if you're deployed with a group of people, you become very close, almost like family. And then when you leave the military, whether you just get out when your contract's up or if you retire, it's like you're moving away from home almost. And so getting these people together and back with each other in the community, doing some things like camping and overlanding and that kind of stuff. It really is helpful. And it's evident if you go on their website, you can see a lot of their trips are sold out already. I think this is a really great thing that they're doing, getting these people back together, and it's kind of like reuniting a family, I guess.
I'm really excited for everybody to listen to that episode. Another guest that we're having on real soon is RV Business. Really, again, excited to have these guys on. You might already be familiar with them, but RV Business shares the RV news through two ways. They have rvbusiness.com, and they also have a printed magazine and a digital magazine. I don't know how, but early on when Sean and I started the podcast, we were somehow in their radar, and they did an article on us very early on, within like the first 6 months of our show. They really got the idea of the show. They really enjoyed the show, so they reached out and said, "Hey, we'd like to interview you guys and put you on our rvbusiness.com." So I don't know why it's taken us so long to have them on the show, but 4 years later, they're coming on the show, and we're going to talk to I believe Rick is the chief editor. Does that sound right?
Yeah, I think that's right.
Yeah, so he's going to come on the show, and we're going to learn the history of RV business, and we're really excited that Sean and I are able to have them on, share them a little bit with you guys. If you haven't heard of them before, check out rvbusiness.com. They are very industry related, just like the podcast is very industry related. So it's a good fit, I think, to have them on the show. I think that's going to be a fun show. Sean and I are also just excited that, starting this year out, 3 new guests. And I know we're going to have some returning guests, but it's nice when we have some fresh voices on the show, I think. So it's an exciting way to start.
Yeah, and we've started on the weeks that we don't do a full episode, we're doing mini pods, we're calling them. Mm-hmm. And we've done some reviews of some of the products that we use and what we think of them, pros and cons. So check those out. They're, like I said, every other Thursday when there's not a full episode, we have one of these mini pods, and they're only about 10 minutes or so. So yeah, check those out and let us know what you think.
All right, everybody. Well, I think that wraps us up for this edition of Driver's Edition. We want to wish you guys happy holidays, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, safe travels out there. It's a busy time of year. Take your time, get to where you're going safely. And we will see you all next year.
All right.
This episode is brought to you by Battleborn Batteries. Battleborn batteries are the best name in the RV and marine industry. These batteries are designed to replace your existing lead-acid batteries. They come in a variety of dimensions and amp-hour capacities. This ensures there's a Battleborn battery that is right for your needs. These batteries are backed by a 10-year warranty, allowing you to get out there and stay out there. The best solution for your battery anxiety.